At Nous, we partner with clients across a huge range of interesting, challenging, exciting, and complex issues. Having good conversations is a huge part of what we do. A Little Bit of Nous is a podcast mini-series that explores big topics through good conversations.
Hi, I'm your host, Alan Dorsey, and I work in our Nous Melbourne office, and I love chatting with my really interesting colleagues about things they're passionate about. And in today's episode, I chat with our very own Chief Marketing Officer, Lauren Douge, about all things leadership, influence and the power of collective success. We get into why great leaders are actually really skilled listeners and how staying connected to your passion can help you navigate change and create real impact. So grab your coffee and let's jump in. We are so delighted to welcome a long-standing Nouser and CMO, Lauren Douge, to the podcast. And Lauren has been leading the marketing team for the past 11 years and also played a key role in evolving the Nous brand, culminating in what we think is our boldest value proposition to date. And along the way, she's become quite the expert in leading teams collaboratively and thinking deeply about what it really takes to maximize your influence. Welcome, Lauren. It's so good to have you.
Oh, thanks so much, Alan. It's great to be here. And thank you for that introduction.
It's always fun getting an introduction, I think. Makes you feel very special.
Yes, really does.
And so, as I was saying, you really helped us really define a bigger idea of success. And it's come to define a core part of how we think and also how we work. And so I'm wondering, as a leader, what does thinking big mean for you?
Yeah, great question. It was a real privilege to work on that value proposition. And one of the things I like most about it is it's a simple line, but has lots of meaning and lots of different meanings. And the meaning can be reinterpreted and made renewed, if you like, for different situations. It's got depth to it, basically. And so for me, I guess as a leader, when I think about that idea, a bigger idea of success, there's a couple of things in it. The first is that you give of yourself to something that's bigger than yourself. There's a sort of we over me notion in it. In organizational psychology, which is where I started my career, there's this concept of flow, which is when you're really captured by and immersed in some work you're doing and you lose yourself. You lose your sense of time, you forget where you are, you're so deep in it. And in that moment, you're sort of losing yourself to the art or the craft of whatever it is you do. And then in more sort of business parlance or thinking, there's this idea of purpose over profit or purpose before profit. And Nous has always, had that in its reasons for being and positive influence coming first. And that again is sort of this, you're starting or leading with a sense of service or generosity, a desire to make better something that is bigger than you, that's in the community, that's in your organization, but there's something there that's greater than yourself that you're giving to. And you see that that principle is in action all the time at Nous, in our clients and the work they're doing, and then in our colleagues and their actions. So, the dedication to solving these complex, whether it's a social problem or an economic problem or a community issue, like housing and access to affordable housing or sustainable development or student success and wellbeing or health system performance. You've got all these people within Nous and more broadly who are dedicating their lives and themselves to solving those. So that to me is what a bigger idea of success is trying to capture. That's sort of the first part. The second part is, I think in that line is an invitation to rethink and reframe and reimagine things. So there's this sort of notion of what success is, make it bigger or change it up or reset that. And I think if you do want to substantially improve something in life, whether it's like people's life circumstances or the way a problem's being solved, you will most likely, as part of that process, need to look at the fundamentals of the situation and then give yourself and others permission to challenge those, to interrogate it, to reframe it, to rethink how something works. And so that can be done individually, but we've found it tends to happen more when you bring different people thinking and perspectives together. That's what really opens things up. So yeah, for me, a bigger idea of success, both in terms of how I think about it and use it and apply it in my leadership, it's both those things, giving yourself to something bigger and then inviting yourself and others to rethink and reimagine how things work. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that idea. I love that idea of that kind of that constant drive for something better and for something bigger is such a great way to be and an inspiring kind
Mm.
of way to think and just kind of look at the world, I think. And
Yeah, yeah.
it's interesting thinking about it kind of in the context of now, since we're kind of known for our kind of flat, non-hierarchical structure. And so it creates, I would imagine, a really interesting space for a leader to try to achieve all of those things. And so I wonder,
Mm.
what have you learned about building influence in an organization like Nous?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's such a important time to have that way of thinking in mind, whether you're sort of in a, say, sort of client-facing role or in more of an internal leadership role, as I am, like at the moment, sort of building more effective and responsible use of AI into both our client services, but also into our internal marketing service model. I've been in this role for, as you said at the intro, like 11 years. And so I'm naturally very invested in what is, and I'm really proud of what has been created and all the way things work. But sort of in that spirit of a bigger idea of success, well, things are changing, and now's the time to actually hold that more lightly rather than firmly, and to be willing to rethink your own work and be open to and invite that from others, even though at times you might be like, oh, please don't ask that question. I put my blood, sweat and tears into building that thing. But no, you're right. We need to consider dismantling it and rebuilding it because that's where we are. But yeah, it's, I guess in Nous, as you said, we're sort of in this sort of flat structure. If I kind of go back to your question, and so there's, what does it mean in terms of influence? What does it look like in practice? I think the network structure has this, or the flatness of it. It's got this autonomy and community in it. If you've got a flat network structure, there's more opportunity for agency and autonomy in your roles than you might see in other organisations where they run a more set sort of linear structure up to a sort of someone you report into, like that more sort of org chart on the page structure, if you like. So I started my career as I mentioned before, in organisational psychology and in organisational performance, and then I shifted over to marketing. And if I compare those two disciplines and their methods, in organisational psychology, there's sort of, when you're thinking about people and mindsets and social dynamics, there's this assumption that, the leaders have a certain level of authority over people. The dynamics between business leaders and their people is it assumes a level of control or authority. Whereas if you look at marketing, that assumes there's none of that. You have to work really hard to get attention in the market, be considered in the market, be engaged commercially, and then be preferred. And so if you're thinking about influence in a flat, less hierarchical structure where there's a lot of autonomy and agency, influencing, I think, does draw a little bit more from marketing and a little bit less from sort of organisational psychology or those traditional ideas of leadership, because people are freer agents in the system. They're less, they can be told less and just assumed, oh, well, they'll do it because we told them. So that then is interesting. Like in terms of then what that looks like in practice, there's a Harvard professor by the name of Julie Battilana, and she's got this really great model that I like for social and organisational change, and it's got 3 parts to it, so easy to remember. And the 3 parts are agitate, innovate, and orchestrate. It's sort of that's like a continuum for influencing. So, first you need to create a sense of dissatisfaction with the status quo and get attention and some energy into an issue. And so that's the agitation part. Like, how do you bring a sort of leadership spirit that gets a dissatisfaction with what is? And then the innovate part is, well, then to move beyond just noise making, how do you then define, design, create something new, which could be, a strategy or a design for a service, or a new funding model. It could be any manner of different things, but it's the creative or breakthrough work of new and compelling solutions. So that's the innovate part. And then the orchestrate part is, okay, we know what we want to build. How do we organize the people and the resources and the effort and get the plan and the budget in place to turn that idea into a change and then value and a difference in the world? And I think that people that are good at those three things, agitating, innovating, and orchestrating, are influential. If they can do them well in a way that creates momentum, support, things flow towards that issue and the change that goes with it. I think the people that can nail all three do tend to rise up, whether it's in a hierarchical system or more of a flat one. So I'd say if somebody wants to be a person of influence, think about those three and how you embody them. Yeah, I had one more thought on that, but did you want to jump in, Alan?
No, go ahead. I'm desperate to hear your last thought, because if it's as good as those last three, I need to hear it. Yes.
Yeah, very kind, very kind. And then sort of another thing I'd add that I think is worth being good at if you want to increase your influence is what I call relational leadership. If you want to influence sort of a group, and you sort of need to stand up and be not just representing yourself, but representing the whole. So when you go to a meeting and you really want to see something happen, do you go in just representing yourself and your voice, or do you try and lead the room and the group to something better? And so if you want to do the latter, which again, I think is something that people of influence have, you're very curious about what's going on for the other people that are there. You ask great questions, you listen carefully, you can at times hold your opinion back, like you don't come out with it too early. And then you're trying to help build a sense of consensus or bring the thinking together, like trying to like listen, but then create coherence so that out of it, there's a sense of we've won together here. We have a way forward that works for all of us. And that's, I think, like a muscle you can develop. And again, you can start developing it at any point, because you can apply it in your family conversations. You can apply it in your local team, or if you're in bigger conversations, you can do it there too. But yeah, I think that makes a difference to influence in less hierarchical systems.
Yeah. And it sounds like there's so much practically to think about when you're kind of in that space trying to achieve that type of influence. And of course, listening, I imagine, as you kind of said, is huge across all three of those kind of stages of kind of agitating, innovating, and then orchestrating.
Yeah.
And so then I wonder, and then asking questions as well. And so I wonder, do you have any kind of practical advice? I mean, I think about, in this role, would you believe, I think about questions quite a bit. And
Yeah.
so
Yes.
I imagine, what in your mind makes a good question when you're in that space?
Oh, I think it's the question that really, I guess, really gives you a deep understanding of what the paradigm or perspective that person's bringing to it. I think there's the 5 whys idea, where you keep asking why of someone till you get to the nub of it. I guess they're just having this sense in your mind of when do I feel like I'm satisfied? I've got it now. I understand what is in that person's mind and what's behind their thinking. So you have a deeper sense of, what matters to them and why they're here and what they really want to achieve. So it's probably in the not just asking one question, but listening and focusing enough on what they're saying and not on what you're keen to say next, that you ask the follow-up and then the follow-up one.
Yeah, it's so interesting. We think about that in like improv and performance a lot. It's like you have to listen for presence, not for your next thing, which is a
Yeah.
muscle. Like you said, it's a muscle for sure. It's
Yes.
it's so easy to hold your own ideas so close. So it's a kind of a loss of ego, I think, is helpful.
Yes. And I think it does get easier the longer you've been, working professionally in a space or in the world of work, because you just trust your own expertise, that you can relax a little bit and be more in the moment. So it does, practicing it and just staying in your professional life, it gets easier and easier to do that.
Yeah.
But you can
Yeah.
start focusing on it from an early point.
Yeah, and imagine that's, what if you start doing that, you're going to be speeding up your own kind of progress, I'm sure, thinking
That's
in that
right.
way.
That's right. That's right. And it's sort of a service as well. If you thinking not just I'm going to argue from my opinion and get what I want, but you wanting the group to succeed.
Yeah.
That is, I think that's sort of a micro beautiful act of service that people give to others. So again, it's like a bigger idea of success in those small moments every day where you're in group conversations. And you're like, I can contribute something more here than just arguing my point.
So
Mm.
it's that shifting from kind of personal success to collective success and
Spot on.
collective
That's right.
action.
That's
Yeah,
right.
it's
That's
really
right.
interesting. And so we've had a bunch of, it feels like we've had quite a couple of really practical tips for thinking. But of course, we're coming into a new financial year, and people might be changing into different roles. And so I wonder, what other kind of advice do you have for up and coming leaders?
Yeah, it's interesting as you sort of progress professionally and build up more and more in your personal life as you get older in terms of accountability, and then other things you build into your personal life, like you might have a family of your own, or you might volunteer, or you have other commitments. The demands and claims on your time and energy become greater and greater. And I think it can be easy to lose sight of what's most important. And by that I mean, what are you really in this for? Like, what are you passionate about? What gives you energy? What gives your work meaning and purpose? I think my advice for younger aspiring leaders would be to always stay connected to that, because it's the source of your drive, it's the source of your innovation, it's the source of where you want to agitate. I also think it's what gives you resilience, because if you've got that real sense of my passion for something, you kind of deal with the knocks and the setbacks and the irritating meeting and the this, that, and the other, and it doesn't throw you off because you're on a path, and it's your sense of why you're here and what it's all about ultimately. So
Yeah.
that'd be my first thing, is as things kind of build up in your life and you feel like you're being pulled in a million directions, don't forget why you're in it and what gives you energy.
Yeah, that kind of like that connecting back to that reason, it feels like that is what helps you
Yeah.
become a good leader, because
Yes,
you
that's
you
right.
know
That's
you're
it.
rooted.
That's it. That, and then the point before of, you can start building your relational leadership skill at any point in your life, at any point in your career. And the better you get at that, I think the more people look to you or for you to help steer things where there's diverse opinions and maybe something's contested or people are struggling to come together. How can you then offer those skills that help to bridge? And I definitely see how important that is for innovation, because when you're working with people that have a really different way of looking at a problem and you can bring that together to solve something, you get those, aha, oh my goodness,
Yes.
that's so interesting.
Mm,
And there's so much magic and energy in that, the way it helps you connect with other people, but the buzz it gives your work. So
mm,
again, I think you have to have that curiosity, and you want to bridge. You don't want to just talk from your own expertise.
mm.
You want to find the magic in the middle, and then you
Yeah,
do cool, fun stuff, whether it's in
yeah,
marketing or consulting or some other part of, the business world or elsewhere.
yeah. It's like it's the energy that inspires you with those kind of diverse kind of ways of thinking when you're all together in the room, and then you find that state of flow together as a collective, and you really hit on something. Like, yeah, it
That's
can be
it.
really fun.
That's it. I think you feel really alive, like when you're in those moments. You have this real
Yeah,
sense of being in the full throes of an adventure professionally, and
yeah,
that gives life zest, doesn't it?
yeah. Oh, What one would hope. Yeah, of course. Absolutely. And thinking about adventure, it has been on my list for the year to be doing a bit more reading. And not that it has to be an adventure book, Lauren. It could be
Yeah,
any
yeah.
book. But do you have a book recommendation for me?
Oh, yeah. So I love this question. I love reading. So I think I'd share with you the book that it isn't necessarily my favorite now, but it probably influenced me the most at the time when I read it. And that's it's called The Fountainhead by Ayn Rand.
Oh my
Do you
goodness,
know
of
it?
course. Well, I
Yeah.
know it. Yes. Well, that's quite a chunky one, no?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not a light breezy read. It's quite it is a bit intellectual and philosophical.
Mhm.
But yeah, it makes a really interesting point. And you know what? I realized that because it's one of my favorite movies is Strictly Boring, the Baz Luhrmann original
Of course.
Australian hit. And I realized that book and that film, they're making the same point.
Mhm.
It's and it goes to what we're talking about here. It's following um, your creative instincts and your intuition. And even when it challenges the status quo and people around you are like, no, 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 you're just not losing faith in yourself. Sort of the value of the individual experience in the social.
Interesting.
Yeah. So those
Interesting.
two, if you don't want to read it, watch the movie, but that's the
Yeah,
main point of both.
exactly.
Yeah.
Amazing. It's I'm excited. We'll have to put this on that. That's the tagline. Fountainhead and Strictly Ballroom are the same thing. Everyone that'll get the clicks, I'm sure. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Lauren. This has been a really, really interesting conversation, and I feel like I'm definitely walking away with some really practical new ways of thinking, or even just reminders as well to kind of keeping your noggin every day. So thank you so much.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Alan. Appreciate it.
Awesome.
Go well.
Thanks for tuning into this week's episode. Nous Group is an international management consultancy, and for the past 25 years, we've helped public, private, and not-for-profit clients deliver better outcomes for their customers, communities, and society. You can explore more of what we do at www.nousgroup.com or follow us on our socials. We'll catch you next time.